up to it and you just turn pale when Ray sat next to you, what's going on? Yeah, he's always next to me, he's always touching me, and I'm just, okay, something needs to be said to Ray. Immediate action, according to the law. Not 48 hours, even though that's your policy. Right then, right there, something needs to be said to Ray, and then it needs to be reported to a person of authority, to your point. Right away. And if I'm her boss, hey, you go to another person of authority to report that. It doesn't have to be that your boss. If I'm your boss, Jackie can't say anything to me. She's afraid of her job. It doesn't matter. Clark, go to Brian. Go to whoever else is in authority and say, hey, this is happening. And something needs to be said to that. All of a sudden, Ray's put on notice according to the law. You avoid this stuff. Okay? This is what constitutes harassment in the workplace. This dispels all the myths and facts around your work environment. This is what you can do to stop the behavior. Tell the source of the behavior, put them on notice. Now they have to change their behavior. If you're the target, make sure you say something either to the source or go to a person of authority. If you're one of those bystanders that see this stuff happening in the workplace, if you say nothing, you've said something. You cannot be in the middle. You cannot be on the fence. You see it happening. Hey, I'm not a rat. I'm not going to rat so-and-so out because I like them. Doesn't matter. What about your paycheck? What about your 401k? What about supporting your family? Does that mean anything to you? Well, if it does, by golly, you better start saying something. That's not to be a rat or a stooge. That's to protect you and the organization. Because I like working here. No offense. I like working here. What about Jackie going to, let's pick on somebody else that I haven't picked on yet. Robin. Jackie goes to Robin, her confidant, and says, hey, I need to confide in you, Robin. I'm going to tell you something that's happening to me in this workplace. What should Robin do when that happens? You got time. What should Robin do in that situation? If somebody comes to you and says, hey, I need to tell you this, but I need it to remain just between you and me. Have you guys had that before? Where somebody's confided in you, a fellow peer in the workplace, and they've asked you to keep this confidential? What should Robin say to that? And she tells her, hey, I'm being harassed. But I don't want you to say anything. I don't want to blow this up. I don't want to look like the tattletale. What should Robin do? What should Robin do in that situation? Huh? Report it. Zero tolerance. Okay? How should you report it? To a person of authority. Absolutely. What if he goes to a person of authority and says, hey, Brian, I want to tell you something in confidence. I'm being harassed. What should Brian's response be there? He's the boss.
Zero tolerance.
Hey, zero tolerance. But remember, this is your culture here that you're about to upset. And I'm going somewhere with this, and I want to give you an appropriate way to respond to it. Okay? And yet keep Jackie intact, keep your culture intact, but yet let Jackie know, hey, I am going to keep this confidential. Because Jackie doesn't want to go back to work environment, and all of a sudden, oh yeah, she's a tattletale, she told on so-and-so, and now this is all going. See, you got a whole disruptive culture. So there's a certain way to handle this. Here's how you handle that situation. If Jackie came to me, and I'm her boss, and she says, hey, Ray, I want to tell you this in confidence. I want this to remain confidential between you and me. Here's my response to Jackie. Jackie, thank you for, first of all, bringing it to my attention. Jackie, I'm going to keep this confidential only to the people who need to know. I'm going to keep this confidential only to the people who need to know. So Brian is now going to address the issue, but only to the people who need to be involved. So it doesn't blow up, and Jackie doesn't go back into the culture, and now she's the target of a tattletale because she just got rid of Bill, and Bill was a great worker here. There's a Bill. Yes. Bill's been quiet, now he's on the spot. See what I mean? See the response? I'm keeping it confidential, so I'm keeping her confidence in me and my ability from telling you because she doesn't want this blown up, because she doesn't want to be the target of other harassment. Jackie, you bet. We're going to address this, but I'm going to keep it confidential to only the people who need to know. Robin's response is, hey, Jackie, thanks for telling me, but I think we do need to say something to the appropriate people, and we keep it at that. That should be your response to her. Because if you don't say anything, guess what? You've become a partaker of that action. This is why I told you folks, you cannot not say anything, because now you've become a partaker. This is the myth around harassment in the work environment. Okay? That's the appropriate response from leadership in that scenario. Okay? So we've had, moving on. Are jokes okay? Is physical touching okay? Well, by golly, no. EEOC says no, heck no. I love it. I love it. I'm touching. How you doing? I know you. Okay? Touching. I mean, EEOC says it's okay, right? Handshakes are okay, right?
Unless they're not wanted.
Huh?
Unless they're not wanted.
Unless they're not wanted. Person does this, you better back off. Was those handshakes okay? Robin?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. I'll tell Dave.
No! Wow! Is that okay? No, she didn't like that. Handshakes might look normal, touching might look okay, but there was a little tickle in that handshake. She didn't like that too much. Didn't like, I mean, it's okay for some people. It's a handshake. But it looks normal when you touch people. But if it's we do this, you see people when you walk in the office and you see them out, no.
A little lower, okay.
No.
Don't stop now.
Physical touching is not okay because it can be misinterpreted. That's why it's a slippery slope in the work environment. And I will tell you this, you guys have company outings, company gatherings, be careful there too. Because things can happen and all of a sudden it crosses over into the work environment. You're now liable, according to the law. Well, wait a minute. That whole relationship was built on the company. It doesn't matter. Now it's carried over to the workplace. You're responsible according to the law. Here's what I mean by that. Johnson Controls, the lawsuit I gave you earlier, they were sued for $23 million by a delivery person who didn't even work there. Delivery person was delivering goods on site, and he was harassed by the ladies. Put him on notice, didn't like it, made him uncomfortable, kept coming, kept getting harassed because they liked his tight buns and his nice little work outfit, blah, blah, blah. And so that's all it was. According to the law, the EEOC says, well, Johnson Controls did nothing to prevent that from happening in their work environment. This delivery person kept coming, kept getting harassed, they did nothing. $23 million. He didn't even work there. This is how it works. So somebody who comes to your company event, if they see stuff, like you guys have family gatherings, your husband's wife, girlfriends, whatever, if they see something in your environment that's not appropriate, first of all, they need to say something. Let me give you that. Because if they don't say anything, you don't know, and you can't react. What about somebody who has a disability? All of a sudden, Jackie, I'm picking on you. Let's pick on Bill. Bill breaks his hand. Bill can't do his job. Bill has, wrist issues, and so he can't quite work the drill on the site and all this stuff. And goes to Brian and says, "I can't do it anymore." What's Brian going to do? Fire him? Brian decides, you know what, Bill, you can't do the job. I'm going to let you go. Can't have you. If you can't work, what do you want me to do? That's the typical response if you don't understand how this law works. All of a sudden, Bill calls, and he's got a discrimination suit against the company because he was fired unjustly. Then Brian's response is, well, I fired him because he couldn't do his job. His wrist was not working, and you've got to have the physical ability to do this job. That's fair. Does Brian win, or does he lose? Why does he lose?
Discrimination.
Why is he discriminated? Disability. He's become disabled. Here's why he loses. Because the issue what the EEOC will look at in this case, in the case of Bill, is not the handicaps, you gotta be careful there, but because there was no reasonable accommodation made for Bill. That's all they're looking for. If you just let a person go because they come to you and say they're disabled or handicapped, that's called unfair, according to the law. That's called discrimination because of a handicap and disability. And there's the Disabilities Act, by the way. If you read that, it's tied into this. So Bill has a case. So according to the EEOC, in this type of environment, if that happens, Brian or whoever supervisor he reports this to needs to make a reasonable accommodation for him to do his job in his situation with his enabled wrist. And if that doesn't work out, then you can take the necessary steps. But that's what the EEOC looks for. This protects the company because you're making reasonable accommodations to keep Bill on board. Okay, Bill, I understand your situation. We're going to try and help you out. Make sense? Reasonable accommodation is critical to surviving this type of environment. Last but not least, guys, we'll fly through these. There's a couple more, 4 things to remember. And I'll just touch on these, slide 6. Then we're done, we'll wrap up. Beware of being informal. Forge office friendships with care. Expect boundary differences. Employ tact. Be careful what you tell each other because it can come back and bite you later on. It's that simple. Sure signs. I gave you some things about targeted behavior. Aggression towards a person. You'll see the verbal spouts at a person constantly. These are some of the targeted behavioral traits that you'll see. Be careful what you touch. Obviously, we know that. Touching can be misconstrued. Not that you can't give a shoulder rub or a high five or a handshake, but be careful if it's a targeted behavior. It's not always what it seems. Your responsibility. Get help. If you're the target of such behavior, report it ASAP. 48 hours. Your policy says, I say, EEOC says immediate remedial action. Right away, report the behavior. You can't wait. Why? Because things get lost in a 48-hour time frame. Oh, I don't quite remember. No, it has to be right away. Don't wait. Zero tolerance. If you're an observer, remember it impacts you. Zero tolerance in reference to this stuff in the workplace. Okay? Because it impacts your paycheck and impacts your bottom line. Next. A healthy culture is where everyone, and here's the summation of all of this. Where's Pam? She?
You want her out here?
Yes. A healthy culture is where everyone, each individual can thrive and contribute to the success of affordable heating and cooling and 5-star plumbing. That's what a healthy culture looks like. It's where everyone can thrive and contribute. If this happens here within your culture, you guys will create a passion around the services and products offered to your diverse marketplace. We talked about the diverse customer base. And then you achieve the whole success plateau by integrating the best minds, the best people, and the best talent that ensures the successful accomplishment of the goal at affordable heating and cooling and 5-star plumbing. This is a healthy culture. This is what it looks like. It's about people contributing to the success of the organization. What does diversity mean? It means success for you, if you understand it. What does sexual harassment means? Any unwanted behavior in the work environment. That's sexual harassment. What's a hostile work environment? Anything that prevents a normal person from doing their job. That's it. Those are the definitions. That's the law. The slippery slopes are obvious. My exhortation to you is that understand diversity, you'll avoid harassment. Understand what we talked about on the front end, you'll avoid the back end. If you see this stuff happening, please report it ASAP. Don't wait, because if you wait, you're allowing the behavior to permeate and fester. You're not a tattletale. You're protecting yourself and the organization. Pam? Pam?